Central State Hospital was once the largest psychiatric institution in the world with 13,000 patients on a sprawling campus of 200 buildings.
It was a city within a city, and it was all about community and taking care of one another. They felt like if they were long-term care, this was their family.
I'm standing here in the heart of Central State Hospital, which is the Pecan Grove, and all of the oldest buildings of the hospital are wrapped around this courtyard. We have the Jones Hospital, we have the women's dormitory, and then behind me we have the Walker Building, which was the men's dormitory, and the Chapel of All Faiths, which is still an operating chapel. And if we go over here to the left, we have the Powell Building. The Powell Building is one of the oldest buildings in the hospital and was also one of the last ones to close. And this is where patients would have come to be admitted into the hospital. So they would have come all the way over from all over Georgia here to do their intake.
Now it's crumbling in various stages of abandonment and revival. Most of the oldest buildings around the Pecan Grove are firmly locked behind tall gates and razor wires scheduled for demolition. Lost Places and Faces is a brand new podcast for people who like to peek through fences. I'm your host, Briarly Davis. Our first episode takes you behind chained doors into a tuberculosis hospital, a converted prison, and a dorm where they house the criminally insane. We'll meet photographer Jessica Whitehead and her Spooky Doo crew, Matt and Sarah, who have explored miles of peeling hallways.
My photography has been described as very moody, which is fine with me because it is a little moody.
She's using her art exhibit, Seeking Asylum, featuring photos of the hospital to teach curious visitors about mental health.
Maybe they can go on to educate other people so that we just have a more caring environment in general.
She opened the gates for us to look for memories lingering in forgotten spaces. But these places can be dangerous. They're full of broken metal, cracked stairs, open elevator shafts, not to mention dust from decades of cracking paint.
And it's not just one layer of paint, it's like a dozen layers of paint.
The scariest things are often the real live people inside. Thankfully, we had our friend Matt, a local police officer, to make sure all the rooms were clear.
We haven't really encountered much danger, but I like to think that that's because Matt is there to really take care of us.
We'll walk you through the stories of the people who were born, lived, and died at Central State.
There were 100 reasons that you could be sent to Central State Hospital. It was not just for a severe mental illness.
Even kids were here.
As a child, I had extreme anxiety, and I know how scary it is to have really, really extra big emotions.
One of the hospital's darkest moments was captured in this HAC photo of a child in a restraining cage, a turning point that started the hospital's decline. But Dr. Thomas Green originally created a hospital where patients wouldn't be shackled or bound, where they could have family dinners with nurses and doctors. The entryways were decorated in marble to welcome them home.
It's really easy when you're in places like this to imagine how beautiful the hospital used to be when it was in its heyday.
It was first called the Georgia Lunatic, Idiot, and Epileptic Asylum, and most people don't know it's still operating today. We'll explore all these stories and more in the first episode of Lost Places and Faces. Remember, don't try this yourself, and fun fact, it's still breaking and entering if the hole is already in the fence.
Are you ready to go inside?